Elephant Tree Podcast.
Hello again, guys, and welcome back to the Elephant Tree Podcast. This is our third episode, and I don't think I've done one in over a year, but whatever. So today I'll be ranking the entire JCHS Productions filmography, since recently I've completed the final ever episode of Brothers, and with that, the final major JCHS project in its entirety. So I'll be going through 26 projects today. I'll be ranking them from worst to best. So we start off with the worst and we make our way up to the best. Some of these projects I will be talking about do qualify as Elephant Tree Productions projects. So when I eventually do a ranking of my own Elephant Tree Production stuff, there'll be a number of projects from this list on that list. So without any further ado, here we go.
Disappointment in the game of life.
So, starting off at the very bottom of the list, the worst JCHS project ever done is Jesus Christ, He Sectioned Retold. Oh, right. So, a bit of background. So, why did I make this? So I made this, it was at the height of COVID when I made this, and honestly, it's not very good looking back on it. It's actually pretty terrible. The biggest problem is that it's literally just the first Jesus Christ He Sectioned, but just told with storyboards, animatics. It's just like, what the fuck is this? I mean, to be fair, it's not like, I wouldn't give it like a 1 out of 10 because it is quite funny on fast motion. So it's like a 2 out of 10 project. There's not really much to talk about with this one. It's literally just the first JCHS film, just animated very poorly. It's barely even animated. So, I mean, the main idea behind this was for me to do like a Minecraft version of JCHS 1, which I wish I did instead. You can actually see that at the very start of this film, where you see Minecraft versions of the PC plods and Jesus. And yeah, I mean, that's the best part of this entire film. The rest of it is just absolute dog shit.
Let's get into the news.
Right, number 25. The second worst JCHS project is, in my opinion, Ben Super Chat's Nation with Ben Sapphire. If you've seen the most recent Brothers episode, you can see in like the Where Are They Now segment that Ben Sapphire started his own news show. This is what this miniseries was all about. This was one of the earliest JCHS projects done. I was doing this when I was still in college. It's not very good. Surprisingly, it's bad. It's boring. There's a couple of episodes that are quite enjoyable. Like one where I get drunk, and the other one, which was the last one, that was used in JCHS 3. Yeah, I mean, there's literally, like, when it comes to the worst JCHS stuff, there's very little to talk about, because the worst stuff in JCHS is just boringly bad. I don't think there's anything that's offensively bad. But, you know, like, this entire miniseries is just me reporting random news that I make up to try and expand the JCHS world. But it just doesn't really work. It's just very repetitive. And so, yeah, that's why it's the second worst one. So, the third worst, so number 24. Now, this one is a little bit more interesting because this is a third season of... It started off as just another mini-series, but then it became a short mini-series. So, it's hard to, like, qualify this. But I do qualify it because season 1 was in an original like mini-series format, when seasons 2 and 3 were in a short format. So, number 24, we have Zach Bagan Reviews Season 3. The worst of the seasons by a landslide. This season, the more I think about it, the worse it gets. So the biggest problem with season 3 is that at this point, because Zach Bagans Reviews is very formulaic, but this season it's literally it just feels so empty. Like there's no soul, no personality, and I guess I can have somewhat to blame because I am the voice actor for Zach Bagans. But yeah, so the main problem with season 3 is that every episode is all the same quality. Like I don't feel like there's an episode that's better than another episode. They're all as bad as each other. It just doesn't, it feels like all the soul of Zach Bagans as a character has been sucked out in this season. And it's just like a walking zombie of Zach Bagans just reviewing a bunch of stuff. That would have been more funny if that was the case. Yeah, so I don't really have anything else to say about it. I did have like an original version of season 3 in which one of the episodes is just me shouting stuff at the top of my lungs whilst walking across the bridge next to my accommodation at the time. So that's something. So that's all I have to say for that. So on to the next one. Number 23 is Make It or Break It, a Jesus Christ section documentary. The longest project I've ever made, which goes to 2.5 hours. A lot of it was filmed in my first week of university. Before induction and all that, so I definitely spent my time very well. Yeah, so out of all of JCHS projects, this is probably the hardest one to sit through because it's just 2.5 hours of me talking about shit people do not care about. But I mean, it's only number 23 and my rating of it is like a 4 out of 10 because it's not that bad. It's still bad, but it's just, there's some interesting stuff in it that I would go back to, like some of the interviews we did. There is maybe a couple of interesting talking points, I don't know really, but a lot of it is carried by the interviews, which happen at the end, which is probably, the worst thing for me to do, but oh well, I mean, there's not really much to talk about. Again, it's just, the entire documentary is just kind of pointless. I mean, originally I was going to do the documentary back when I was in college, because we had to do like a little tiny like side project as like, it's kind of like our college equivalent for what we did in university with our start to stop projects or our pilots. Yeah, I mean, I was going to do Jesus Christ section documentary, but my tutor was like, oh, Ben, do not do that. I was like, okay, fine. So you can see what it is in the actual documentary because it's the PC Plum interview. So yeah, that's what I have to say for the JCHS documentary. So
Bloody hell, not again!
Number 22. Right, so number 22 is the original Jesus Christ section script. This is still bad. This is just reenacting the first ever draft of JCHS 1, because JCHS 1 had a different director originally, a different director / writer, who he and his dad were the original people who came up with JCHS. So we have to give a round of applause for them. Thank you, Dylan. The thing with the original Jesus Christ section script video is that, I mean, it's not the most boring thing, but it's just me doing like stupid impressions whilst dressed like the true Jesus form in JCHS 1. There's literally not much to say about it other than there's some funny moments in it. It's interesting how the script, the original version of JCHS 1 changed into what actually came to be. Right, so on to the next one. You are a prick. Which is number 21. We have Prick Chocolate. Right, so there's a bit of history with this one. So I originally had a channel called Volcanic Cafe, which is how I came up with the Volcanic Cafe character for JCHS 2 and beyond that, obviously. So the whole thing with Thick Chocolate is that I made fake drama with one of my friends, and so I ended up doing a diss track on him, and then when we were doing, this was before JCHS, and then I decided, I'll make a music video for the channel, and then eventually we just decided, we'll just put it on the channel, it'll be funny. You know, it's not very good. I don't think it's very good. Like, the music video itself is pretty shit, to be fair. But, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. The song's alright.
You've just lost your PS4.
So, speaking of music videos, on to number 20, we have the Volcanic Cafe's Tech Tips music video, which is not good as well. The song's better than Prick Chocolate, in my opinion, which is the only reason it's higher, because the music video is worse. The music video itself is worse than Prick Chocolate, but I think the song is better, which is why this is just a bit higher. So, yeah, there's not really much to say about this one, other than Volcanic Cafe has a big spider on his shoulder. A big fake spider on his shoulder, and that's it, really. I don't think I have anything else to say. It's still pretty bad.
I'm not addicted to milk.
So, at number 19, so this is where we're finished with the bad section of JCHS, and we're going into the to okay section of JCHS. So number 19, we have Milk the Complete Saga, which is just a collection of JCHS shorts strung together with a cool intro. Milk the Complete Saga, it's funny, but it's only, in my eyes, a 5 out of 10 project, because it's not really its own thing. It's just a bunch of funny milk videos of Ben Sapphire put together. I mean, there's not really much else to say. On to number 18. It is Zach Bagans Reviews Season 1. It's quite weird talking about, like, Zach Bagans stuff, because back when we were making these, we didn't know how much of a bad person Philip Schofield was in real life. Looking back on these is kind of like, Philip Schofield is in these. But aside from that, the episodes themselves are actually okay. There's a couple of bad ones. Like, episode 1 is really boring. Episode 2 is the Philip Schofield one, and that I had to, like, notch a rating down on that one. It's still fine, but it's not anything, like, wow. No. So, and episode 3 is the Derek Savage episode, which I thought was pretty decent. It's a pretty okay episode. It's pretty funny. Episode 5, I think, is pretty okay. It's the best episode of season 1. There's nothing amazing about it. Philip Schofield's still in it, so I had to notch it down a rating. But, you know, it's still an okay-ish episode. The problem with season 1, I guess, is that not much happens. Just Zach reviewing stuff, and some of the cameos are a bit awkward nowadays. So, at number 17, the one that started it all, Jesus Christ, He's Section 1. Looking back on this film, it's very interesting, I'd say. JCHS 1 as a film is not very good. It's okay. For a college project, it's completely serviceable, but it's not something that I want to, like, rewatch a lot. Aside from if I wanted to marathon the trilogy. JCHS 1's okay. There's nothing, like, offensively bad in it, maybe aside from one joke. I did not write JCHS 1. Like I say at the end of Brothers Episode 5, I did not write JCHS 1, so anything that happens in that film is not on me. Yeah, there's, like, a very offensive joke. I don't want to say it. There's a very offensive, like, joke in JCHS 1. Aside from that, it's pretty tame for a mockumentary sort of film. It's interesting. I do like the characters generally. I don't think there's any, like, bad characters. They're just not really the best written, but they're fine. The film is very isolated, which I think, when considering the major JCHS universe, is quite funny. and also does work because of how isolationist JCHS 1 is, and you know, they're in a mental hospital. Of course it's going to be isolationist. Yeah, I mean, I guess the film can be at times a little bit like slow compared to both its sequels, which were both written by me. Oh geez, I sound very egotistical. I'm not, I swear. So yeah, so on to the next entry. Number 16, we have Zach Bagans Review Season 2. So the reason why this is above Season 1, for one, there's no Philip Schofield, thank goodness. Two, I think the pacing is a lot better, which is something, even though Season 3 is bad, it does have somewhat okay pacing, even though everything feels soulless in that series. But Season 2 Zach Bagans Reviews, I think, is pretty okay. There's an actual good episode in it, with episode 4, the Prick Chocolate episode, which I think is actually pretty darn funny. That's the best episode in all of Zach Bagans Reviews, and it's the only one I think that's actually good. Episode 5 is okay though. Yeah, there's not really much to say about Zach Bagans Review Season 2. It's generally okay. You're going down right now. Number 15, Prick Chocolate 2 Franchise Killer. I think this music video is actually a lot better than the one that came before it and the one that came after it. It's like a million times better in terms of music video, and I think the song is also really good. Why is it only number 15 though, you may ask? Even though it's a good song, it has a good music video, it's just, I think everything else has more substance to it. Like, when we go from here onwards, in terms of JCHS, there's more substance in these projects than Prick Chocolate 2, because Prick Chocolate 2 is just a funny thing I made. It's just a shit post, really. There's not really any, like, proper issues with it. It's just a fun music video, and that's it. It's nothing, oh wow, that was really good. It's just a decent music video. So, number 14 is Bartholomew Finds a Snack. So, this animation video is pretty okay. It's quite funny how Jesus tells Bartholomew to fuck off, and then he just gets himself KFC, and Bartholomew stumbles upon a goblin. It's a neat idea, it's neatly executed, and there's nothing else to say about it, so moving on.
Jesus, you're back?
And number 13, JCHS A Christmas Miracle. So, the biggest issue with this one is that it's very choppy. That's the big issue when it comes to this entire Christmas special. Very choppy in terms of the footage, which I do regret, so much so I had to make a sequel a year later. This is still serviceable. I think it's still a decent special. I think it is underrated. Like, nobody really, like, when I talk to my friends about JCHS, they don't really bring up the first Christmas Miracle. Actually, they don't bring up either Christmas Miracle, to be fair. But, you know, I think this special's okay. It's got some funny moments. It's got a decent plot. Not much else to say. Alright, why am I doing this? I really want my pizza and chips at this point. Number 12 is Jesus Christ, You Sectioned Too Much. So I know some people rate JCHS 2 like all the way in like the top 3 JCHS projects. Technically, like, this film's not very good. Wind issues, focus issues. I mean, to be fair, this is the first film I made almost entirely by myself. And I think for a first project, it's pretty darn decent. It's got a nice fun plot. Sets up well for the third film. I mean, yeah, I like having Volcanic Cafe as the main villain. That's always fun. Not much else really to say.
Fine!
So number 10, not number 10, what, I'm skipping. Number 11... It is PC Plum Perfection Cop Season 1. A project I made when we had the second wave of COVID in early 2021. So I made this project because I was feeling down. I was like, oh, there's nothing to do. So I decided, you know what? Let's make another JCHS project. Yeah. So I decided, you know what, I'll make a mini-series with the PC Plum actor, my brother, and, you know, I think it's decent, it's fun, It's enjoyable. If the first Christmas Miracle and JCHS 2 didn't have like technical issues and sound issues, then they probably both would be better than Season 1 Perfection Cop. The problem with Season 1 Perfection Cop is that it's very, very small scale. The episodes are really short. The episodes are like at least 4 minutes long, and at most, like the longest episode is only just gone 6.5 minutes. Which is actually less than the shortest running Brothers episode. I think it's decent, it's fun, enjoyable. There's nothing really bad about it. I mean, there's some underwhelming episodes, like episodes 2 and 4. They're okay still. I think episodes 1, 2, and 4, they're all okay, but some of them are not very written well. Some of the episodes are just kind of slow, and they don't have much going on. But, you know, it's still a fun miniseries. Into the top 10. Number 10 is JCHS Babies, the April Fool's animation video from a year ago. JCHS Babies. How is it? It's pretty okay. It's a funny April Fool's video. It's animated well, and it has good music. It's got a funny dub over it, because it's just the Muppet Babies theme song, but instead of Muppet, it's JCHS, so that's funny. Yeah, there's not much else to say.
Gee, Zach, this party is red.
So number 9, we have Zach Bagans' Christmas Countdown. So I think this miniseries is pretty good overall. A lot of the episodes are the same, but I think there was a total of 7. So episode 7 is the best episode, because it's the one, it's slightly longer than the others by like 25 seconds. Of course I know that. But you know, it's fun. It's like, it was a really good like end episode, and we got to have one of my favourite JCHS characters with Ghoulie. You know, the rest of the series is just fun. Zach Bagan talking to people he knows. Obviously, Philip Schofield's in this once again. Yikes. But, you know, it's whatever. It's only one episode of the 7 batch.
Judas, you're a rock now.
Number 8 is probably the least JCHS project ever done, and that is Renault Clio 2020 advert. So this advert is not really JCHS related, kind of like Prick Chocolate as well. But it was just put on the JCHS channel, so I'm including it in the ranking. It's just a fun car advert in which Judas tells girl from County Lines to stop throwing rocks at his car. So that's pretty much what the advert is. It's still a fun advert. There's not much else to say about it, so I'm going to move on now before I bore you.
It's a sports car. What do you expect?
So number 7, it is PC Plum's new car, the better of the 2 car adverts. So, PC Plum's new car is pretty good. It's fun, enjoyable. It's got a nice plot. It's got some decent humour. It's not anything groundbreaking. It's still only a 2-minute long advert, which is very long for an advert. So, PC Plum's new car's got fun stuff. So, moving on. Number 6, the story of JCHS in 3 minutes. The best of all the animations in JCHS, because the one coming up, okay, maybe I'll take that back, because we have one more coming up. So JCHS in 3 minutes is the story of JCHS 1 and 2, told in 3.5 minutes. It's a fun animation. It's very enjoyable. It's animated really well, and there's nothing like astonishing by it, but it's just fun. I think it's just fun. So yeah. Number 5 is gonna cause some hatred towards me, putting this all the way at number 5. But number 5 we have JCHS Another Christmas Miracle. So yeah, I think JCHS Another Christmas Miracle, I've heard the critiques for it, the problems people have of it, which is it's like nothing really happens in it. But I just think for like a very small story, it's done really well. I think it's funny, it's charming, it's got good humor. Ben Sapphire gets a character arc, which is always nice to see. It completely decanonizes the first Christmas Miracle in a way that's very interesting. It's probably a very interestingly made sequel because it completely decanonizes the original, but not at the same time, because it's just Ben Sapphire having visions and nightmares. I mean, it's just a fun special, I think. There's nothing like amazing about it, but there's nothing like bad about it. I just think it's a fun Christmas special, and that's all it really has to be. Number 4, it is PC Plan Perfection Cop Season 2. This season has some really outstanding episodes. Episodes 2 and 5 are massive standouts, not in terms of just Perfection Cop, but JCHS in its entirety. I think both episodes 2 and 5 are really solid. The rest of the season is still solid. I don't think there's a single episode that goes below a 7. Episodes 1, 3, and 4 all good, but they do take away from the season being one of the absolute best in JCHS. I still think season 2 is a really good season. You know, I think the entire season's enjoyable. There's some like questionable stuff, but I worked with what I could because I'm not an animator, so the animation in like episode 3 is bad, but it's the best I could do. The script still works for it, so yeah. I mean, there's not really that much to say about Perfection Cop Season 2. I think it's just a fun, enjoyable season. It's got good characters. PC Plum has more character to him, and he's really fun. He's a really fun character.
Zach, I'm so sorry no one turned up to your Christmas party.
Number 3, the top 3. So I think 3, 2, and 1 are all 8 out of 10s. There's nothing outstanding aside from one of the episodes of the top spot. So, number 3, it is the actual best animated thing in JCHS, Zach Bagans' Christmas Party. This is a very fun, very enjoyable Christmas special that gets ruined at the end by Philip Schofield. No, I'm joking. He doesn't say anything, so... But, you know, he does show up at the end, but it's just, like, for a few seconds, so it's just whatever. But I'd say that Zach Bagans' Christmas Party is fun, it's enjoyable. Zach Bagan has a nice little character arc in the special. And it, for a while, was the best JCHS thing, but has been topped by 2 other projects, which you can probably already guess. So I'll go on to those.
Well, chin up. Don't let the pressure get to you.
So at number 2, it is Jesus Christ, Section 3, The Last Testament. The biggest JCHS project. The JCHS project that I consider to be my magnum opus. It's a project I made pretty much entirely by myself. I had some help here and there, but I think JCHS 3 is just my proudest achievement, because it's a film, it's an hour-long film, even though 7 minutes of it is closing credits and 2 more minutes is opening credits, so it's basically a 56-minute long film. Oh, that's what the edit told me. Why am I going quiet? So JCHS 3 is a very fun, very enjoyable film. It does not drag, even though I do think the second half is definitely better than the first half. Still think the first half is solid and good, but I think the second half is really good. This not only is one of the best JCHS projects, it's one of the best things I've ever made. And I'm very happy with the film, and I would love to rewatch it. So, number 1, the best JCHS project ever, and that is Brothers. So, I think every episode of Brothers is a solid episode. The worst episode I still think is an 8 out of 10 quality episode. Even though it has Philip Schofield in it, it's still a really good episode nonetheless. I think Brothers is the best thing in JCHS. Even though JCHS 3 is my magnum opus, I think Brothers is the best in terms of quality. And it's not just the best JCHS project, I think it's the best Elephant Tree production project so far. So, Brothers is just very fun. All the brothers have their unique personalities. If I were to pick a best episode, I'd say episode 5. And I think that's the only JCHS project, and only project I've made so far, that I would score a 9 out of 10. So, I think the entirety of Brothers is really good, really solid. Even the mini episode is solid. There's not really any major problems with Brothers, aside from sometimes the sound can be quite bad on outdoor scenes, which is why I've now got sound equipment, and for future projects I'm going to be using that. For most upcoming projects, yes. So, that is my entire JCHS ranking from worst to best. Hope you guys enjoyed, and be on the lookout for another Elephant Tree production podcast episode. I don't know when I'll make another one, but I'll probably get around to something at some point. So yeah, that's very reassuring. Thanks, Ben. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys very soon.